fam, another episode of The Brilliant Journey with Michael and Ryan.
Yes.
Here we are. This is the third part of our 4-part series that we're ending the year out and a beautiful bang in our journey lineage, talking about all the things state change. And today we're talking about emotional state.
Oh yeah. So it's going to be a good episode. This is a beautiful week in the program. Like one of the ones that leave people with a deeper understanding of themselves, a deeper capability and awareness around like who they are, what their self-limitations are, what emotions are, and how we can utilize a lot of the tools that we teach people in the physical and mental weeks on like how to implement them so that we can ultimately be less reactive to what's going on around us and more responsive to it.
So let's break down emotion. Let's break down emotion. Emotions are, for me, emotions are the access point for learning, the access point for bringing your awareness towards something. It gives you the ability to work something out, whether this is something that is challenging you or this is something that you are in alignment with. I'm not here to say that is good or bad because they are only based off your own personal value set systems. They don't actually really exist, right? And so I'm careful to say, you know, if you're in the anxious state, or if you're in an anger state, or if you're in a happy state, if you're in a joyful state, they're really just giving you the signals that whatever you're doing is, or whatever you're thinking, or whatever it is that you are observing within your reality planes is on a challenge scale, or it's more on a line scale, and then it can shift very quickly from point to point based off one little thing, and then we start getting into our mental state, and that can then start triggering our emotional state. And but we aren't our emotions, Ryan.
No, we aren't. Because all emotions are energy in motion. And when we can work to deal with whatever that energy is, we can like transform or transmute or to lessen it. And it's like, I like what you were saying. It's like there is no such thing as good or bad emotions. There is no such thing as like right or wrong emotions. It's just your perception of them, the way in which we work with them, the way in which we deal with them, the way in which we react to certain situations. And it's like when you have a look at it from a physical perspective, excitement and anxiety show up exactly the same in the body: dilated pupils, increased heart rate, and more often than not, more perspiration. So the only difference between those two things is your perception of it. You know, it's like you might be going to get up for to talk in front of a crowd, you know, based on your past experiences, based on maybe how well you've trained for it, based on your like wants in life. You're going to get dilated pupils, you're going to get an increased heart rate, you're going to get sweaty palms, but it's only your choice that chooses whether it's a feeling of anxiety or whether it's a feeling of excitement, like, fuck, I'm excited to do this, even though this might be intimidating, I'm still excited. You know, it might feel intimidating, but you might feel anxious about it. You know, it's really is just your perception. And so that's going to be completely different for every single person, you know, so understanding that emotions are driven in, like, feelings that we perceive a thought to.
Yeah, then it's the meaning you've attached to that.
Totally.
Because you're right. It's, I mean, if you saw somebody you liked, your heart palpitates, your hands get a little sweaty, your blood circulates a little faster, your pupils dilate a little bit more, you know. But if you took that same scenario and you were lost out, you started, you know, to go off track, and you realize, oh geez, I've walked off track here, I'm starting to feel a little bit lost. You've got the same signals, but where your thought has taken you down is, oh, I'm lost, or I'm going to die, or whatever it is that you create that negative bias. But whereas the potential of liking someone is, oh, I could have sex with this person, or I could date this person, I could kiss this person, I could get to know this person, or rah, rah, rah. So it's the signals and your interpretation of the signals. Ultimately, you're not going to interpret the signals while you're getting lost in a track thinking, oh, I'm going to date this track. I'm not going to feel. It's like, no, the signals are there and your interpretation of them is there to help save your life because it's right. But that's based off knowledge and learning and understanding of your environment.
Yeah.
Correct,
awareness
right?
Awareness around it. And that's probably the biggest thing. It's like all the emotions or all control. Is it control a word? Yeah, you could probably say the word control. All control of emotion comes from awareness. Like awareness of the feeling, of the thought, and awareness that you can choose to react in any given way. But more often than not, if we've never brought any awareness to our emotions or how we feel, or even the stories or scripts that we may have, then we're just going to instantly react. We're going to live in fear, or we're going to live in frustration or anger, and these more like deemed to be negative emotions are going to be the default.
I once went to a therapist many years ago, and it was kind of the first time I'd ever started to talk about things that were going on with me, and I've shared this on many podcast episodes. But something that stuck with me with him was he talked about bottom track emotions and top track emotions. And so he talked about like bottom track emotions are like the lower vibrating emotions, the anger, the frustration, the guilt, the shame, and learning to know when you're in those bottom track emotions and how to that's when he started doing EFT stuff with me. You kind of like, he would like come in and be like, what's something that has triggered your anxiety, or and I was going through some bad stuff with my daughter's mum at that time, and there was lots of heavy things, and so he would go, okay, great, like I want you to really go into that. I want you to bring that up in your body, or I want that to explode in your body. And then he took me through the tapping, but it was still the facility of bringing that emotion more into my body, not hiding or shaming from it. Not hiding from the shame of it, actually being like, oh yeah, it sucks, that's it. But moving it from a 9 out of 10 down to a 6 out of 10, down to a 4 out of 10, or whatever it was through the tapping, and knowing that bottom track emotion isn't somewhere where you have to remain in. It's something that you can just feel. And I saw a really good okay, I've got two trains of thoughts going on at the moment. Let's finish off what I was talking about. So the bottom track emotion and the top track emotion, it's not making one wrong and not making one good. Yeah. That's what it was. That's where I was kind of going with that. So the bottom track we all know what the bottom track emotions are. The darkness, the heavy, the thing. But it's not making them wrong. It's being in that and understanding that. And we've spoken about
using them to transmute to a different level as well.
100% correct, right? And this is in Western psychology learnings and teachings, right? Yeah. So this thing I saw the other day was about actually shifting the state of your thoughts. And it was quite good because I did it right then and there, and it was great. And so he took you through, he goes, all right, think of something in the last 24 hours, even like in the last day, that has triggered a response that you want to be able to move the emotional edge through. And so you close your eyes and you can sit there and you can think about something that's really triggered your response, and you can feel it. Now he goes, now sit with it, like really like move into it, like become that emotion, let it into your body more and more and more and more, and really feel it. Like, what is it? And then he goes, okay, you got it? And he said, all right, now I want you to think about, what's the tallest tree in the world? What could you conceive as the tallest tree? What do you think the tallest tree in the world is? Come up with a number. How many meters is it? All right, you got a number? Cool. Now, what type of tree is it in your conception of this? What type of tree is the tallest tree in the world? All right, now you're thinking about it. Great. And the answer was, I think that it was like 274 meters, and it was some, I don't think it was a pine tree, but I see pine, whatever it was. It doesn't, regardless of what it was. Now you've got that. Now go back to that emotion. Now go back to that thought. Go back to that state that you're in. and it's minimized. It's because you're now taking more of the driver's seat of the emotion. You are now going, oh, this hasn't killed me. I took my thought away to something else and I chose to come back to it. Now that emotion hasn't engulfed me. It hasn't taken me down that negative pathway where I'm going to be destroyed or I'm going to die or the worst possible outcome that could happen. It's like, nah, it's minimized a bit more now because you went into it, you came out of it, you went back into it again, and then going back into it, choosing to move into it, instead of allowing it to kind of fester in our body and kind of fester in our mind, and then we might go and get distracted here and then just allow it to move through. It's actually just going, no, do you know what? It's you and me. Mano a mano.
For sure.
Like, let's do that.
Let's be with it. Yeah, and it's, as you say, it's like when we're stuck in one of those low-level emotions, more often than not, we're either... We're not in the present moment. We're not sitting or being with it. We're either in the past or in the future, whereas like a lot of self-regulation is actually just being with it, making it okay, not shaming the fact that we may be reacting or may have reacted in a certain way, and like allowing ourselves just be like, okay, cool, like I'm here for like constant involvement. I'm here to work on myself. I'm here to use these situations as an opportunity to grow. I take responsibility for the way in which we act, but I don't shame or guilt myself for that.
What happens? Sorry to cut you off, bro. No. But what happens when shame and guilt comes in? It's not like you can turn the switch on and off.
Totally, and I think it's just about,
easier said than done, right?
Yeah, I think it's just about knowing that that's the default.
Yeah,
like as human beings, we're always going to shame and guilt ourselves because we're just judgmental. Like by nature, we're just judgmental because the brain has one job to do, and that's to keep you alive. And the brain actually doesn't know the difference between the past, the future, and reality. Like you close your eyes, you think about a pink elephant, like you see it in your mind's eye, and the brain perceives that as being real. So it's like getting caught in those stories or catching yourself in those stories is just part of the process. Like realizing, understanding that shame and guilt is going to come in, but that's just something that you choose to not like become attached to.
And have some outlet for it.
Yeah, and have some outlet for it. Like, okay, well, how am I going to move through the fact that I feel shame and guilt? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's talking with someone. Maybe it's meditation, just sitting with it. And it's different people are going to use different tools at different times based on the way in which their nervous system is regulated. The way in which they're able to deal or the connection they have with themselves with their breath.
It could be as simple as just doing some chores as well.
Yeah,
break up your mundane. You could clean your house. You could, just get outside the house, go and take a drive, go and park somewhere in front of a water and just sit there. I don't know. These are the things I find to try and disrupt and change the shame and the guilt monster. It's because they can all be therapy in themselves as well. Totally. Especially like we live in an outsourcing world. Everyone can outsource. You can outsource everything. And again, another therapist I went to many years ago, I was telling her, she's like, when's the last time you cut your lawns? I was like, I got a guy who comes in once a week. And she's like, maybe go and cut your grass, mate. I was like,
maybe do it for yourself.
Yeah. I was like, she goes, sometimes it's that simple.
The audacity.
And then I said to him, like, yeah, well, I guess we outsource our life. And she goes, that's exactly right. We're outsourcing our life.
Yeah.
We're outsourcing our life. It's and then when we're outsourcing our life, and I'm not saying there's anything bad to it. I think we all evolve, whatever it is. But I could definitely probably step into my life in a few other things if I wanted to. But I wouldn't have time for scrolling.
yeah, totally. it's a funny thing. It's like, what else would you be doing? It's funny. Yeah, so emotions. It's a beautiful topic because there's so many subtle nuances in it, and there's so many different ways to work through it based on like different therapies, different practices. Buddhism's all about sitting with it. Somatic practices are all about moving through it. But it sort of depends on the person, depends on where you are, depends on your outlook on life, where you're at, what feels comfortable for you. If you want to be pushing edges, what are those edges for you? You know, an edge for someone could be sitting in meditation for an hour, whereas an edge for someone else could be going to a somatic dance therapy. It is really dependent on the person, and that's the beauty of it. It's like this whole journey is about you just equipping yourself with tools and then using and utilizing them when you best see fit. Like, you're not going to use a hammer to cut an onion, right? So it's like understanding the tools, understanding what they do, and then understanding when you can utilize themselves so you don't have to constantly be outsourcing, you know? And sometimes it's important to outsource because sometimes we need people to hold that space for us, to reflect that mirror to us, and to simply be there with us as we move through things.
Yep, beautifully said. So we go into what's called a personal law exercise in the third week. Now, if you want to do this personal law exercise, scroll right back to one of our kind of first earlier episodes. It's called personal law. Actually, no, I'll find what it is. I'll put a link in because we go through the personal law process. So if you've got yourself 20 minutes, sit down, chuck that episode on, and actually go through the personal law. So this is talking about and going through what are the scripts and dialogues that are running through our mind, telling us who we think we are, and really just getting a bit of a grasp and a handle on how we speak to ourselves internally, how we think of ourselves, how the stories that have been given to us, or where do they come from, you know, through traumatic experiences and all that sort of thing. So the personal law is a very powerful exercise. We take everyone through, and there's always some light bulb moments with a few people when they drop into it, because some of them have never looked at how they speak to themselves, or they have these things rolling around and they've created so much shame they would never dare say out loud about what they think, because it's like, oh, guard that secret so fiercely to the death. It's something seems so simple. Now, we've done it hundreds of times with different people, but the profundity of it is very powerful.
Totally. It's always one I go back to with every client.
Yeah.
It's like the point in the 90 days when I work with them that we do the personal law. Some people will be early on, some people will be a little bit later, but it's always one of those ones that creates a moment of acknowledgement and acceptance.
And what's interesting about the personal law, it's about your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's not about the emotion. It's about the thoughts that create the emotion.
Totally. Yeah.
And then the emotion comes through after realizing the thoughts. So this is the interconnectivity of it all. And always some big emotional releases with that one.
Totally.
So the personal law, if you want to go and do that, I'll put the link in the show notes of which episode it was. I'll find it for you guys and go through it and just see what's rattling around in the noggin. I haven't done it in a little while, but you can definitely benefit from doing it once a year.
Totally.
You know, just have a check in with self, see where you're at, see what new things you've picked up, or old things that have made a return. Do you know what I'm feeling at the moment? I'm feeling old things returning like a vengeance. Hey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's like the last hurrah. I can feel like it's there's lots of things dropping away.
Yeah.
People, situations.
Yeah.
Old self. Like I even think back to who I was about 2018, 2019. I can't even really remember, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like a timeline shift or something. And then there's it's like God is like going, well, to really say goodbye, you've got to really fucking feel these things again, and it's heavy, man.
How much are you gonna hold on?
Yeah.
Like the aspects that you used to be.
Yes.
Yeah. Or are you going to let it go and evolve?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the last party, and it's the last hurrah, and it was even interesting just reflecting on, even it was just a few years ago. It's 2024. I was like 2018, 19. I'm like, holy shit. And then even like a year later, that I was like 2020. Yeah, I was like, wow.
You sort of forget that was COVID, right? It was
4
years ago.
It was a different thing, but then these old facets have come roaring up, and older minds, not even older mindset, but just like things, and I feel like it's just it's the cleansing of fucking house.
Or like checking in of like where you're at with it.
Some test.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, I felt tested lately as well.
Yeah, big time. really going deep into that Conversation with God book that you recommended. It's super powerful, and highly recommend it. It's on Spotify, it's on audiobooks, or you can just go and buy it and read it, but I'm listening to it at the moment. And what's really coming out clear of it is that everything that's going on within your life, it's the how it's put is, it's basically this guy, he's tapped into self, and he starts writing questions to God, and God starts answering him through his own thoughts, and he's writing down God's answers as well. So it's this conversation with God, and God is, and he's asking, he asks the profound questions of like, well, God, like if you are the creator, then like, why do you allow bad things to happen? And basically God is going, well, I don't allow anything to happen. It is your own creation of your life. You are God. But things have been missed. And he's like, when you don't know what it is that the creation that I've created for you to, you don't know what your soul has chosen to come down here and incarnate. It talks about like you can choose everything to set up your life, which is really relevant to what we've gone through in rebirthing. But you don't choose your life. You create your life. You are here to remember.
You are the creator.
Yeah, you are here to remember who you are, not to try and... Yeah, you're here to remember who you are, and you're here to create the life that you want through free will. But however, if it was absolute Eden, then you wouldn't, like, there's nothing for you to move through here. There's nothing. And then they talk about on a collective scale of like, we collectively create natural forces to like tornadoes and all these other,
like a collective consciousness.
There's a collective consciousness for that, because, and he's like, you don't know what that other person's chosen. You don't know the points that they've chosen to go through their life and their, karma. I mean, it's not the word they use, but go through, what are you here to learn? What are you here to do? And then he's basically, then it's really cool because he talks about like there's no hell. There's you're all going to get into the next life. You're going to return to where you came from. Yeah. Why would I? And he's great. God talks. God was saying, why would I judge my own perfect creation? If I am the creator, why would I say some are getting it and some are not? It doesn't make sense. Totally. It's like if you have kids, if you've got multiple kids, you're not going to go, I'm going to love this one more than the other. Yeah. You all make your choices. I can give you my learnings, totally. But it's up to you what you want to take in based off what you actually want to create. That's free will. And so where I'm going with all of this is all of the sanctity of all your emotion, right? That's all run through all of this, your anger and your happiness and your joy and all of the things that will perceive to be going wrong in your life. There's no wrong. There is the ability of what you've created, taking more ownership of your life to remember who you are, and you have a direct line to God. You don't have to go through someone else. That diminishes what I've created. It's super powerful. I'm still just mulling it over, and it's really nice to actually just talk about it because I'm like, oh yeah, piece that together.
Yeah, see how it lands when you can communicate it a little bit more. Right? But I think it's nice to listen to. I don't think it's the book that I'd want to read, because it's like having those different aspects of the voices and the perceptions and there's like the back and forth that it goes into, and even like the utilization of both the masculine and the feminine voices. It's quite cool.
It's very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah,
and it really does. It's like, for me, it rids a lot of confusion that can come from religion and like the negative. The negativity and the shame and guilt that can actually be created by religions, because a lot of religions are based on that, and the way in which they see God is God the Punisher. God, he's there to punish you, and if you're not good, you're going to go to hell. When he's like, no, there is no hell. It's like that was something that was created by man to create fear.
Yes.
Whereas he's not a spiteful or a vengeful God. that was merely just to create it in a way in which we can, like, people, like man can control man.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I want to control my own people? Like, you guys can do as you please. Like, that's why I created free will.
Yeah. It was a cool analogy that was written in there was.
And then can I just go something into it?
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, but what about murder? What about rape? And he goes, don't be stupid. He goes, inherently you know what is good or what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
So just doing what you inherently know is good.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
We all know what's inherently good. You know? And there needs to be no discussion outside of that.
Even he's like, people have used his own words against him, but it wasn't even his. He goes, it wasn't even my words. I've told nobody what they can and cannot do. I can't have it. I can't. He goes, my creation. He goes, a snowflake. Look at a snowflake deeply. It is absolutely perfect in every single way. He goes, if that's just one single snowflake, imagine how perfect the universe creation is that I've created. So I don't tell a snowflake how to be a snowflake. It is just a perfect creation.
Totally.
How do you think that I tell you what to do? I don't. It's a perfect creation. You get to remember who you are. You've come to this realm to remember who you are. You come to this realm to be able to be God expressed.
That's it.
So, you know, you don't have to, one person channeling God is you're removing the aspect of God. It's super. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But on the emotional aspect of all of that, it's we can get all tied up very quickly and easily into things that don't need to be. I was going to say don't need to be fought, but they don't need to be present. You know, we can just fuck it off if we want to.
Yeah,
hey.
It's simple as that. Yeah, totally.
Like fuck that, fuck you. You know, this is where we have voices.
Totally. This is where free will comes into it.
It's all free will, right?
Totally. And it's like even playing on that aspect of, you know, what's inherently right. It's like that's changes in every moment. You know, what's right in one moment isn't right in another. You know, maybe you have to murder someone to save your family. That inherently is right.
Well, how was killing someone because the government in a hierarchical leadership level told you to go to another country and wear a uniform and shoot somebody, whereas, you know, somebody walks into your house to try and rob from you and you kill them there, or you're, you know, air quote psychopath and you're going down and you've got this thirst, you know, or kink to get a general sex satisfaction from somebody, and so you go and murder, you know, a prostitute in a car or something like that. They're all murder. Why is one accepted and not? Because again, it's the meaning and the definition of what's behind it.
We inherently know what's right.
100%. Yeah. That was a nice little side quest, man. I love talking about that.
Yeah, it was good. Read it. We're becoming goddesses. God.
Oh, I love it. It's. I think that's really a big part of my shake-up right now.
I think it's a simplification, Michael. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Lots of confusing paths explored.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a really way to put it, man. There's lots of things coming to a head.
You're like, oh, it's been so simple all along.
It's been so simple.
I know the answer.
Well, like he says, it's not easy, but it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. I think it's a good way to land, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's simple.
So we're going to do our last episode next week. We're talking about the energetic self, which is fun. We'll do a little bit longer on that because we get to talk about rebirthing and breath work. We get to talk about it's the culmination of the mental, physical, and emotional all together.
For sure.
So we could take that down some pathways. So tune in for that next week. That's going to be fun. And we're going to take a little break. After that, we're going to go and enjoy some summer.
Oh, yep. A few weeks off.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's needed, man. My soul is tired. Hey, the nervous system's tired. It's dragging.
The collective energy is tired of everyone. You can just tell. Every time you talk to somebody, they're like, nearly done.
Yeah.
Nearly the end of the year.
But hey, Bitcoin's flying off the fucking roof, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
God, everyone's talking about Bitcoin. Jesus. It's interesting. I have no FOMO.
No.
This time around because
Bigger fish to fry.
we're bigger fish to fry, and we're
We know it's going to
choosing our own destiny rather than put it into the hands of some fucking crypto things. Yeah.
Totally. Anyway, people, we'll wrap it up there.
We'll wrap it up.
All right, beautiful
love y'all.
humans. We love y'all. Thank you for being y'all. Thank you for being here. And we will see y'all next week.
See you next week. Shoo.